Welcome into a special playoff episode of Odd Man Rush. Hope you're having a great weekend wherever you may be. I'm Will Highland, joined as always by the man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Justin Diesel.
Yep,
That's
that
the
is
middle name?
correct.
Okay, all right. I mean, memory serves. It's been a long time. I'm a little bit long in the tooth now. Um, but nevertheless, we're happy to be talking about playoff hockey. It's our favorite time of year, covering the sport and doing this pod. And so we will certainly be able to enjoy that for the next couple months, no matter how long the Boston Bruins are in. I will enjoy this playoffs. But with that said, Kyle, thanks for jumping on a Friday night. How are you? Uh, how are you handling the beautiful weather? And also, how are you handling the L I gave you in the fantasy hockey championship?
I'm doing pretty well, just a little tired of travel. As you know, it's my busiest time of the year, just like it is for yourself. Just to make it another 2 weeks here. Weather report, it's been toasty. It's been like 67 degrees this week. So I have no complaints on my end. The sun was out all day today. Bit breezy, but we'll make it work. And unfortunately, that the loss does not help me after having a 7 point lead going into the last night.
I think you had a 20-point lead on as recently as Sunday.
I did.
It's okay. I think not that anybody cares about our fantasy teams, but I think it helped that when you're in the final round, it's like, and we only get two keepers. Once like the Wild were done and they it was clear that they were like resting Kaprizov and resting Brock Faber and resting Matt Boldy, I was like, they're all getting dropped. I was like, they've clinched already. This kind of leads into our playoff conversation. The team has clinched. They're resting their stars. They're not of use to me on my fantasy team. So I'm going to go add people from like the Anaheim Ducks basically won me the because I just was like, add. Oh, like I already had Gautier, but I was like, oh, Chris Kreider, add. Oh, it's good, gets a goal and an assist. Oh, awesome. So I think I got lucky a little bit. I will admit. But hey, the 4 seed. Be careful what you wish for, Pat. Be careful what you wish for, Diesel. Win championship. Anyway, it's back. It's I brought it home. I brought it home. Um, but speaking of bringing it home, Devils, your team, looking to bring somebody into the fold that's going to point them in the right direction. And some news this week: they've hired Florida's assistant GM. That they're used to bringing it home, back-to-back Cup champs. What do you make of the hire there, Diesel?
Yeah, I mean, bringing Meta in, I think Sonny Meta here is going to be huge for the Devils. I mean, he's a guy who helped reestablish this team down in Florida. And then the Devils needed a hard reset, especially after what Fitzgerald had brought to this team. I appreciate everything he done for what he brought in for talent wise, but I think Sonny's going to bring this new energy to the team like he did down there in Florida, which is what we need. I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of a retool and restructure than a rebuild overall, I would say, for us. Um, I think, in my opinion, there's going to be some key players moved around on the Devils. I think the only person right now who is safe would be Jack Hughes. I don't expect him to be moving as your key centerpiece, but I think kind of anyone else is on the table. Maybe Timo Meyer might be off the table, but I think Jack's the only safe one. I think anyone else is kind of free to move around.
Yeah, I wonder about Brad. I wonder about Nico. I mean, these are guys you
Mhm.
could trade if you wanted. I don't know. Like I think an interesting comp is the Blue Jackets, right? Like we saw.
Mhm.
I mean, this is something we could talk about if we have time, but like, Rick Bonus laid into the team in the final uh press conference of the year. Talked about changing the culture and then gets re-upped to come back. So, I think with New Jersey, you have a situation where they got this Sonny's got to this new guy's got to figure out where his core is and who those people are, right? And because I think you have a good coach. I think I would let Keith have maybe a year or two, see what it looks like in maybe two years with him before you make any decisions there. Um, and like you said, you pointed out a few guys. I pointed out a few guys. They have people to build around. You have a goalie waiting in the wings, goalie prospect who plays at BU, who's waiting in the wings. So yeah, I think if I'm a Devil fan, I feel better going forward. My two more things. First, I'm glad you guys didn't hire Brad Treliving. I'll get to that
Yeah.
more in a second here. Um, but also, Diesel, I am I'm interested to see how it looks next year for the Devils, right? Because we're going into a Hughes walk year,
Yep.
meaning a Quinn Hughes walk year. See how competitive they want to be if they're truly going to bring all the brothers together. And similarly, you're going into next year, and I think a year like this sort of tempers expectations. Like the Devils weren't a bad team. They weren't bad this year. They just weren't good enough to make the playoffs. And I think that next year you can possibly begin to worry less about beating like Carolina and winning the division and more about, hey, can we, squeak into that wild card spot? Because we saw a lot of teams, in fact, the Penguins and the Flyers, the Bruins and the Sabres,
Mhm.
all four were at the bottom of the East last year in order. And now they're all playing one another in the playoffs this year. So stranger things have happened. So I don't know if you have any more on that, but I think I'd feel pretty good. Plus, you're bringing in a guy from Florida who knows how to win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I expect a lot of key pieces to be moved. I honestly think that Markstrom should be moved. I wouldn't be surprised if he is or isn't because I think you have a great backup in Jake Allen. Great contract of a 1.6 for another 4 or 5 years. That's a steal, I would say. I think it's time to bring up the young man, Nico Dawes, from the minor league team, and he did phenomenal last 2 years playing for us. I'm playing a couple games. I think it's time to give the youngster a shot. I mean, it also saves you a lot more cap space to make moves if you're going to go for like a Quinn Hughes or some other key pieces that we might get to later or in the offseason that are going to be potential on the trade markets here. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's my big expectation. Potentially, maybe either Nico Heischer or Jesper Bratt as well, potentially being pieces that are moved outside of Markstrom and Dougie Hamilton here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can move Markstrom and maybe be comfortable playing a Dawes and Allen tandem next year in net, and then maybe that sets you up for having Yegorov
Mm,
come in like 2 years. That's really similar to what the Bruins did with Swayman, is
yeah.
they had Allmark, who they knew was sort of like a 4 or 5 year guy. He didn't finish out his contract. That was the plan. And that was actually, in hindsight, a very team-friendly contract that Allmark was on. Um, so yeah, it worked out for them, and now they've got their guy Swayman. So yeah, and that's something that New Jersey could easily do with their goalie prospect. Um, okay, so that's an example of a team that I think we kind of all agree is going to be run better in the future. Before
Yeah.
we jump into the playoffs, Toronto missing the playoffs after Mitch Marner is dealt, or not dealt, walks. He walks in free agency last summer, goes to Vegas. Brad Tree Living, who single-handedly, like no pun intended, watched his future when he was with the Flames burn up in front of him, then gets like the gift of all gifts, which is another GM job in Toronto with like a ready-made roster, like ready to win, and can't get it done there. That's insane. Oh, and by the way, they hire a Stanley Cup winning head coach, much like he did in Calgary with, um, oh, what's his name, who was with the Kings, um, the older guy there.
Oh,
I
I
don't
can't.
remember, but anyway, they hired him. He fizzled out in Calgary, and then in Toronto they hired Berube, and I mean, he's not the problem. I'm just saying that, and Keith wasn't the problem either. I'm just saying that now it's like, gosh, I'm really glad New Jersey didn't be like, oh, yeah, he's available. Yeah, we'll go hire him. That would have been brutal because the Leafs, dude. Maybe some of our listeners and watchers have, viewers have seen this story, but Diesel, they had a story break in the Athletic, and it's kind of been all over Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and stuff too. So it's been on social, it's been on TV.
Okay.
Um, they their CEO, not like the team president because they don't have one, but like the Leafs are owned by a company called Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They also own the Raptors, and I think they own another franchise in Toronto. So the head of that sat in, according to their sources, on trade deadline day and was telling the hockey department like what they should do. And according to the story, he was using notes generated by AI about like here's the trades you should make. Like like he like asked AI like, "Hey, who should we trade for whatever?" Um and they had apparently there were t deals talked about that involved Nyes. The story talked a lot about the drop off they had in leadership following Mitch Marner, which is interesting. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's sort of like what you hinted on in our last pod that they had essentially quit on Berube.
Yeah.
It was very dysfunctional. The GM hated the coach hated the GM, the GM didn't like the owners. Like it was bad. And then you had the business CEO overseeing hockey ops, which is just a horrible, it's just a horrible situation if you're trying to make good on ice decisions. So yeah, I mean, I've seen it with the Red Sox. You do not want to mix that because then you just completely implodes. Um, so I don't know what's next for them up there. But to watch Ottawa in the playoffs and have a great
Yeah.
second half, to watch Montreal have a great second half and be in contention for the division, to see Boston come
Hmm.
back after a year and to all of their rivals. Meanwhile, the Leafs are golfing a little bit earlier than normal, which granted, it's not that much earlier. It's only a couple weeks earlier, but still. I don't know. What do you think they should do next before we talk about the playoffs and the teams that are actually worth talking about?
I mean, we've talked about it for years in the pod about how this team just needs to be blown up and they've got to get rid of these pieces that aren't working. But also, there's no leadership. And we talked about and questioned Austin Matthews' leadership as a captain with the C. You're supposed to be a leader if they put the C on your chest. And if that's not coming through, doesn't mean he's not truly a leader. That team could just been from all the way from the CEO to down to the bottom of just a disarray. But it's time. I think it's time for them to just say, hey, you know what? These guys are on the market. Nylander, Matthews, put them on the market. See what you can get. I think it's time to rebuild and get a fresh new start. Because if the pieces aren't working, time to move on. It's similar to what might be happening over with the Oilers here in the next year or two. If they can't get it done and win a Stanley Cup, and potentially the Avs win another one, I think it's time for them to start thinking, well, we got to start getting rid of some pieces that might be crucial, but they're not getting us what we need. They're not getting us a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if they had hired me, what I would do is I would say I'd bring Willie in. I'd
Yeah.
talk to Willie for about 2 hours. I bring Austin Matthews in, talk to him for about 2 hours. Maybe I bring Matthew Nyes in. I sort of like listen to them, and then I make a decision about of these guys, who is the one that I trust to carry the torch, right? Like you can't. I don't think you can get rid of like all three. I think that would be
No.
stupid. But I mean, you could get rid of at least one. Um, and I think probably Willie or Boston, probably not both of them. I mean, you would entertain that because there's teams out west that have cap space. Like
Right.
and they would not they would not trade him, either one of them, to the east. But I mean, Austin, do you want to go play in an American market in the Southwest that doesn't really care about hockey, where the media is not going to ask you every night stuff? Because he clearly hates that. I mean, I know he's been hurt, but he had to come back for media day, um, teardown day yesterday, I think. Um, and that couldn't have been fun for him. And I don't think he enjoys that. So, I mean, Vegas probably isn't a good example because Mitch is there, and I actually think that fan base does care. But like, you know, Anaheim. I mean, you could go live in Anaheim and get paid a boatload of money, and nobody would really care about
Yeah.
you. And I think that's exactly what either one of those guys would thrive in. Um, yeah, they do it to themselves in Toronto for sure. Um, so anyway, any other thoughts on Leafs before we talk about the rest of the East that's actually in
Mm,
the playoffs?
I mean, not really. I think I'd rather let's wait for the off season, get some nice. Unless you actually, let's do some bold predictions. Since you said the top three, who do you think out of those three? Who would you who would you trade and who would you keep?
I would trade if you truly want to make a statement. I would trade Matthews.
I think
Yeah.
they're trading Matthews. I think he's going.
If you truly want to make a statement, I'd trade Matthews and give the C to like Morgan Riley and then be like, this is our team now. Like I would, that's what I would do.
Or they
I
don't
mean,
give the seat to anyone. They could choose to wait a little bit.
right, which is kind of what the Bruins are doing, which isn't, I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. What about you?
I think Austin Matthews has to go. I think if you got a C on your chest and you're not providing, I think you got to go. I mean, it's
Didn't New
time. I mean,
York do it with Truba?
yeah, New York did it with Truba, or yeah, New
Yeah, I
York did
think
it.
so. Wasn't he the captain?
Yep, and they gave it to oh, what's his name? They traded from Vancouver.
JT.
Um,
Yeah.
JT Miller. Do I think that was the right decision for the Rangers? Absolutely
No.
not. I
Well,
don't know. Well, they also think they did that way too fast and way too soon.
yeah.
But we won't talk about the Rangers and their
Yeah,
mishap.
that's an off-season discussion for sure.
But I think Austin Matthews goes. They get a good deal. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded both Austin Matthews and Nylander during the offseason. If they got two good deals in them out
Yeah.
west, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I just don't think that fan base has the appetite for.
No, they don't.
I mean, because speaking, I'll just use the Red Sox as an example. Like you hire a new GM, and the ownership says, "Yeah, you're trading Mookie Betts," and then from that moment forward, the fan base hates that GM. I don't think anybody is going to take that Toronto GM job without like an assurance that like ownership is going to let them do what they want
Correct.
if there's a prerogative to trade one of those guys. So yeah, we'll see how it develops over the summer. A lot of those guys still have a couple years left on their deals, but it's gonna get crazy, boys and girls. Is all I gotta say. All right, speaking of crazy, Eastern Conference. Usually we go through every matchup, but what I kind of want to do just this time is talk conference by conference, kind of like we do during the regular season
Okay.
because even though it's a bracket, oh, what was that?
Is that okay?
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. I said, even though it's a bracket, I think you can sort of talk about each matchup within the context of the conference as a whole. Um, so like for the East, Detroit, Columbus, barely Washington, they all sort of barely miss out. The Islanders, they all
Yeah.
barely miss out. Um, but the teams that played hot in the second half, Philadelphia,
Yeah.
Ottawa, the Bruins, Montreal, Buffalo for sure. Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Pittsburgh had kind of been there all year. I know
Yeah.
we had thought, Diesel, that maybe Pittsburgh was going to suffer as a result of the Crosby injury. They also had Malkin injured for a little bit, and they held on to that two seed and never really gave it up. So, I mean, kudos to them. Again, talking about trades, they made a goalie trade in what,
Yeah.
November, December, with Stuart Skinner to bring him in and get rid of Jari. That seemed to have worked well for them so far. He's going to start game one against the Flyers. And then, in that series, the Flyers, they were bad.
Yeah.
they're bad. I heard Rick Tocchet get interviewed on trade deadline day, and he was talking about, oh, hey, we're like 6 points out of a playoff spot. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's not that much. And then I'm thinking, yeah, it kind of is because you got to jump over all these teams. I started thinking there's no way that like Columbus and Detroit and the Islanders and nope, all of those teams fell apart. So, I mean, kudos to the Flyers.
Yeah.
They figured it out. I mean, they got production out of Konechny, Zegras. So, I
When
mean,
you're hot, you're hot.
yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. And I think they are a great example of a team that you don't give up in the NHL. If
Yeah.
you're 4 points out of a playoff spot on trade deadline day or whatever it is, like they're a reminder that the trade deadline. There was a lot of games that still happened after the trade deadline, because of the Olympic break. So, what do you think about them? What do you think about Ottawa? Some of these other teams that were really hot in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, for hot team, I think the most surprising one is that Flyers team. I mean, it's a team I don't think anyone in the East really wants to come out and play start. I mean, they play scrappy. They play a real physical game. So it's a team I don't think I'd want to see. I don't know if this favors Pittsburgh at all in any way. Um, yes, Pittsburgh's a very talented team. I just don't know if they match up too well against this Flyers team that seems a little bit unpredictable unless the Pens get hot. Um, but I think they're the number one surprising team at least. Montreal's kind of been steady, coasting through. The Lightning have been kind of up and down the last kind of 2 months, I would say. The one team I wouldn't want to play is Buffalo right now. They're just scorching hot for some reason since December. I don't know how you put that fire out on them. To be
Yeah.
honest, I don't know. And as we talked about before, the Canes are the Canes. They just do their job. They know what they're doing. They've been here and done that multiple times. Maybe this is the year they get over the hump since the Panthers aren't in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you threw a lot at me there. But like, oh, we talked about, I think we're in agreement on Philly. Um, as far as Montreal is concerned, yeah, they were just steady near the top of the division all year.
No,
They never fell out of the top three, I don't think.
no,
Not for maybe they were a
I don't think
wild
since
card
this.
for a day or two, but they were
Yeah,
usually in the top three all year. Um, and they got really good goaltending the last couple months out of Dobis because they had a little bit of a problem. Sam Montembeault turned into a pumpkin. That Jacob Fowler character
yeah,
wasn't as reliable as they wanted him to be, but that's to be expected. But they got really good goaltending out of Dobis. So I think that's a strength for them, which is weird in a series against Tampa Bay where, you have Vasilevsky, who,
mm,
albeit he's struggled the last 2 years in the playoffs, he still has that Stanley Cup pedigree, and we still know what he's capable of. So that's how I feel about that series. And then you brought up Buffalo. Again, to be fair on the show, we were laughing in November about what do you do with the Sabres? Well,
yeah,
good thing they weren't listening because they became the best team in the league for the rest of the year.
yeah,
And um, you know, that's another tough pill to swallow if you are Buffalo, is that again, just over the border in Buffalo, you have them in the playoffs, Montreal, Ottawa, Boston. I mean,
yeah.
all Atlantic Division teams, plus Tampa. I mean, the Atlantic Division was really good this year. And Ottawa, I got to give credit to Ottawa too, because much like Buffalo, they had they had many years where they were not good, and they had many
Mhm.
years where they um, had drama in their locker room. They even had drama in their locker room this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
And, I call it what you want. There was certainly some drama about things Brady Kachuk said on his podcast, things that were, rumored, whether I don't think those rumors were true, but they were still out there. I mean, that's a distraction. Um, yeah, all kinds of things. And they made the playoffs for a second straight year. So you got to give them credit there. Um, and that's a team that I don't think they're going to win the series against Carolina, but they much like much like Philadelphia and Buffalo, they didn't lose many games the last, you know,
Nope.
3, 4 weeks. Yeah. Um, do you have a team that you think is in trouble in the East? Is there a team that you look at and they're like, you're in upset alert territory?
I don't. I don't think
Do
so.
you think the Penguins are in trouble?
I would say the Pens might be in trouble. I think, like I said, it's an even matchup, but I think I have all of them. I think the one that wouldn't surprise me, but that might happen to people may not knowledge is the Boston Bruins here upsetting Buffalo, a team that been experienced and been there and done that, to a team that's freshly new and never been in the playoffs for umpteen years. This could be a might be a best of seven here coming down to
Yeah,
game
I do
seven
think
in
it's gonna be a hard
Boston.
series.
So depending on how that goes, I think that would be the major upset. I don't consider the Flyers. I mean, I do consider the Flyers being an upset over Pittsburgh. I do see that happening. Is it going to happen? We'll wait and see. But I think the Flyers are good. Do I want the Flyers to win? Of course not. I don't want the Flyers to win. But I think that will happen. I don't. The ones I don't see happening. I don't see Ottawa, unfortunately, being the Canes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The Canes are just too good. I mean, the Tampa game, as you mentioned before, Montreal's been steady. Vasilevsky
I
with
think
all of his
Tampa might be in
injuries.
trouble.
Tampa might be in trouble in this one. If they get through this one, I think I'd be more concerned of them trying to make it through a second round. But I think Montreal put up a good fight by the end of the day. I think
Yeah.
Tampa
See,
will win
I
six.
think whoever comes out of the Tampa Montreal series is going to be the favorite over Boston or Buffalo.
Yeah, I would
Like
say.
I think even if the Sabres beat the Bruins, let's say they beat the Bruins in 7 games, that would suck for me. But let's say that happens. I think if Buffalo's playing Montreal, I think Montreal's probably a if they can beat Tampa, I think they can beat Buffalo. So it's like kind of like whatever mathematical theory that is, like the cumulative property or whatever.
Yeah,
I wasn't paying attention in fifth grade, maybe. I think that is uh, the recipe there for
yeah,
those for that side of the bracket. Now the other side of the bracket, I kind of agree with you. It would be considered an upset if the Flyers win, but again, you're talking about an interdivision, interstate 2-3 matchup. I mean, is that really a Is that's the thing with this format? It's like, is that really an upset? There's really not first round upsets on the bracket in the East this year. It's not like when the Panthers beat the Bruins in the first round, right? When we were like the best team in the regular season history. So I think that's kind of now. Oh, I will say if Ottawa beats Carolina, that would be an upset for sure.
yeah,
I don't see that as a realistic thing. Now, if I'm wrong, that would be catastrophic for the Hurricanes, but I don't. This is their best chance at a cup. This is kind of like if you can't win a cup in this bracket, I don't know if you're going to because I think they should get out of their side of the bracket. And I think whoever they play from the Atlantic side is going to be exhausted because even if the Bruins get out of it, and I think so, a lot of people would say the Bruins are the weakest team out of the four. I don't think so. Um, I think all four teams are very even. Maybe the Bruins are the weakest on paper, but not so much so. But if Boston gets out of that series and gets out of the second round, I
yeah,
mean, Carolina has to beat them, right? Like Carolina has to beat Tampa. They can't lose to the Lightning again. Carolina has to beat Buffalo or
yeah.
Montreal. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. And with them, it's like they have it kind of laid out in front of them. There's no like big horse that I don't think they can beat. So, but the interesting thing is, and you watch a lot of other games, probably more than I do. It's like Tampa plays more similar to the Bruins,
Yeah.
and Buffalo and Carolina play a very high paced, sort of off the rush, run and gun kind of hockey, which is really good in the regular season and has sometimes not um translated well to the postseason. Like I think about last year's Capitals team, for instance,
Mm.
um, doesn't always translate well. And I think the Flyers play more like the Boston and Tampa, and Pittsburgh plays sort of that style too. Ottawa as well, but you have a couple teams that play very high paced. And so I don't know how well that's going to translate. But you think about some of the matchups. If Buffalo ends up playing Tampa in a second round, Tampa's D is very depleted. Hedman not available right now. So yeah, I think there's a lot up in the air. Who do you think comes out of the first round in each matchup?
I think I'll start from the top. Uh, Buffalo Bruins. I think the Sabres come out. Probably in. I'm gonna go with 6 games. Buffalo's gonna come out six. Tampa, Montreal. I think that also goes to 6 games. I do think Tampa comes out with the win there.
I do too.
Going
And
down to
despite their
the
problems on defense, I do think they win that series.
It's a veteran team has been there, done that. Carolina versus Ottawa. I think Carolina wins in 5. I think Ottawa steals one, but not nothing too crazy there. And then I do think Pittsburgh does win, but it's not a win in 4, win in 5. It's they probably will go 6 or 7 games. So I give Pittsburgh the edge there with a team that's more experienced. Unless something dramatically happens to Crosby and Malkin, I think this team's going to go to the next round.
Yeah. I think you probably get Penguins in 6. I think you get Carolina in 5. And then in the top side of the bracket, I think it's a little bit more competitive. I think those are definitely going at least 6, if
Yeah.
not 7. Because I like chaos, I root for it. But because I'm a objective, quote unquote, reporter in this context, I'm probably gonna go uh Tampa in 6 like you did, and then I'll go Bruins because I need to, right?
Yeah.
I'll
You
probably
guys
go
support your team.
I go Bruins in 6. What I
Okay.
want, the matchups I want Bruins and Habs in the second round. I need that. I need that. Um, we need to get them back for 2014
Mm.
because 2014 was the last time we played in the playoffs and we were the better team. We had home ice and we lost game 7 at home. So I need that, but that's a second round thing. We'll see if we can get by Buffalo.
Okay.
And then I need Carolina and Pittsburgh. And then what I really want is I want Bruins and Penguins in the East Final. Um,
That's a little bit of a reach there, I would say.
yeah, it totally is. But I'm telling you what I want, because I think that would be chaotic. And as a Bruin fan, you're playing some pretty big rivalries there. I think Pittsburgh's a rivalry, a small one.
Okay.
Montreal's a
Okay.
huge one. So that's what I'm rooting for. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But we have to have fun. All right, the West. The West is less fun. You know, I think similarly, you have some really good 2-3 matchups that are hard to pick.
Yeah. A
Your 1-4s are a little more.
little more lopsided.
Yep, like I like Vegas over Utah, for instance. I
Oh,
like that
oh,
Utah is
oh,
back in the playoffs.
oh, I don't know about that one.
Well, we'll talk about it. Um, I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but I like the interesting thing is they've got like a brand new coach. And Utah's been playing hot because they've had to. And I like Colorado over the Kings, unfortunately for the Kings. Um, the 2-3s, man, I don't know. I mean, the thing about the West is
I don't know who I want.
I I don't even know. I mean, the 2-3 matchups are like who are you? I don't even know who you pick if you're trying to like not get it wrong, you know? Like if you I mean you could they're kind of both coin tosses in my opinion.
I mean, it depends. What kind of Oilers are we going to get against the Ducks, and the Ducks just surprise you, and then it's the two powerhouses that took a little bit to catch up to Colorado, but Colorado already built enough points that you weren't going to catch them by January. So
Right.
I don't know who wins the green on green here between Dallas and the Wild. I mean, it's
The Mike Modano Bowl.
that might be the matchup of the first round. I would say. I think that's the matchup everyone
Oh,
wants to see.
easily, easily. That could be a conference final matchup, and it would rate because obviously the Wild rate. They're in a good hockey market, and
Mhm.
Dallas has grown to become a pretty good hockey market over the years. They've gone to the conference final a million times. Dallas was my preseason Stanley Cup winner.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, like I think, yeah, I think that's going to be a great series. I mean, in these situations, I usually err on the side of home ice. Um,
I don't think home ice matters in that one.
I know, but when in all else equal, you gotta find. I think the advantage for Minnesota is certainly their top six. I think the advantage for Dallas is I would normally say goaltending, but Ottinger did not have a very good end to the year. Um, yeah, I mean, Da Dallas has really top end skill like Robertson, but
No.
they've played a lot of the season without some of their best players over the years, like Sagan and others. So, but Duchesne had another good year.
Yeah.
Um, so I and then obviously Minnesota's top six is very, very, very good, and they get production out of their defenders as well. Um, Edmonton, obviously, we know what, again, their top line and top six look like. Anaheim, Gauthier had probably, if I had a Hart Trophy vote, I'd consider it. I mean, like, I'd put him in maybe my top 12 MVP in the whole league. I mean, he had a great season, what, 40 goals, something like that?
Yeah.
Um, McTavish had a pretty good year. Their veterans they brought in, like, made contributions. So like I like Anaheim. I can they beat Edmonton, who's very experienced in a 7 game series? Maybe. I don't
Maybe.
know. There's Chris Knobloch is good, knows what buttons to push in the postseason.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot to unpack in the West, and I think there's a ton of question marks. Now you mentioned Vegas and Utah, you feel strongly. So tell me more about that. Where am I going wrong?
I just think Vegas just hasn't looked like themselves. I mean, we saw them play against the Bruins. Just they got hot in the third period, but like Utah's a team that's going to could easily score five or six against Vegas with their goaltending, and I don't know if Vegas has the firepower to come back and score five or
Yeah.
six. I
Well,
mean,
in the
that's
w
my
yeah,
only concern is, and they have some of the hottest young talent with Gunther, Keller, Cooley. So they've got a lot of young stud
Paterka.
talents.
Yeah.
Paterka, yeah. I mean, I think they're a team that's going to be surprising out west. I think they're going to win in 6 games here over Vegas. I just think they're just riding this high, and I think it's good for Utah for this brand new team to have this high
You're talking
coming
me
in.
into it.
So I like it. Plus, who doesn't want to wear a woolly mammoth jersey? Like, come on, who doesn't want a Utah jersey?
Well, I mean, much like my favorite University of Maine Black
Hmm.
Bears, they wear the powder and blue with the navy, which is whew, beautiful. Um, so very strong points on Utah. I was leaning Vegas, and then I remembered because I don't stay up late at night and watch them that Petrangelo's been hurt
Yeah,
all the second half, and I know he's getting long in the tooth to use that phrase again, but I'm thinking about their decor and like, okay, you've got Hannafin. He's had some experience in the playoffs. Okay. Um, you brought in the other guy from the Flames there, Rasmus Anderson. Okay.
yeah,
All right. But again, you've got Shea Theodore, but wasn't he hurt recently too?
yeah. He was hurt recently.
So I'm like, okay. Now I'm wondering, I just named like 4D who I really like, but yeah, you got to keep up. And I do think it's going to help Vegas that they do have really experienced players on this team, like
Correct.
Mark Stone and Jack Eichel, and
I never
others
said it
like
was going to be easy for
Mitch
Utah.
Marner, Mitch Marner. Now, Interesting. Does Mitch Marner play better in the playoffs with Vegas than he did with Toronto? And granted, he never really played that bad with the Leafs. They just scapegoated him because
Yep.
they're lazy. Yeah. That's my interesting angle that I'm looking at is like
Okay.
what is what is the top end skill of Mitch Marner look like in a different kind of series? Because if this truly is like a high speed series, the problem with Marner in the playoffs is they kept playing the Leafs, or sorry, they kept playing the Bruins and the Panthers, who don't play like that. You can't play that way against them.
No.
But can he play that way against a team like um, Utah? Possibly. So that's what I'm looking at, I guess, in that series. Now that
Okay.
I thought about it for a little bit. Um, Talked about Edmonton, Anaheim, Dallas, Minnesota. I guess we really haven't talked much about Colorado and the Kings.
I mean, is there much really to talk about?
Well, it's really too bad for the Kings because
Poor Kopitar's gotta go up
yes,
against a
that
final playoff run here.
against the buzzsaw. Well, that and also it seems like the years that they don't get matched up with like Connor McDavid and Draisaitl in the first round, they draw uh McKinnon and McCarr and all these other top end players, guys that just win. That's all they do is win and compete. And it's like the Kings, they're like, oh, we're gonna trade for Panarin. Now they lost Fiala
Yeah.
from the Olympics, so that may have hurt them. But gosh, I just feel like they cannot catch a break in the
No,
playoffs.
they can't. Unfortunately, they cannot catch that break.
Yeah, which is too bad because I mean that's a good franchise. And speaking of, Jonathan Quick announced his retirement this week. Um, Probably the best goalie in the history of that franchise. But
Yep.
yeah, really, really tough that they draw Colorado, who we think is going to go to the Cup final possibly. They after drawing Edmonton all these years, that they made it.
Yep.
It's a tough draw. So Diesel, if I had to pick, I'm going Colorado in six. I do think the
Okay.
Colorado's going to have a little bit of they're going to face a push, but I think they'll comfortably win like game five and six. Like I think it might be a series early, and then I think they pull away.
Okay.
Um, I'll go Dallas just because I like to dance with the girl I brought to the prom. I'll go Dallas in seven.
Okay.
Um, I'll go. You kind of talked me into Vegas, Utah. Oh, I'm gonna stick with the Knights. I'll go Knights in
Okay.
six, and then I'll go Oilers in six. So I think all series are gonna go six or seven.
Okay. I don't think the Avs Kings are going to go six. I think they're going to go 5 games. I think they're going to give up a game maybe to the Kings if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, if you ask
Dallas,
Rod Brindamore, you can you can get swept and it's not actually a sweep.
yeah.
So maybe you can lose in five and it's pretty much the same thing as losing in six.
Uh,
Sorry.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go bold. I think the Wild are gonna be Dallas this year. A team that I always say that never shows up in the playoffs and always tucks their tail and runs away. I think the Wild pulled through on this one.
That would
I'm
be
going with the
good
Wild.
for that city and that team.
I think the Wild will win here in 7. Vegas, Utah. I think Utah here wins in 6. I think they pull it off. Just with their younger talent overall. And then Edmonton Ducks. How can I go against probably the current best player in the league besides Nathan McKinnon here in McDavid? So I give the Oilers here. They win in 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm really happy the Ducks are in the playoffs. Like I think that's really good for the franchise. Like I think they've built something sustainable there. Like I think they're going to build on it. They still have like really good young players like Bennett
Mhm.
Senek, he's really good. So I think they're gonna only Roger McQueen is there in
Yeah,
their
especially with
prime.
trading Gibson away too.
Yeah, they have all this flexibility. And their goaltender who we didn't talk about. The guy who played for the Czechia team, forget his name,
Mhm.
Lukas Dostal.
Yeah.
Very very good player that almost upset Canada. So yeah, I think the Ducks are in a good spot, but yeah, I don't think they're going to beat Edmonton not this year. Maybe they're a year away, right? They're certainly playing in a division that's going to only open up more as
Right.
the years go on. Um, okay, to close out the show, I got two questions for you, and then I'll answer them myself. But we'll start with you. Okay,
Okay.
rapid fire, not rapid fire. Take a couple seconds to think about it. Um, you're not the Stanley Cup matchup that you think is going to happen. I want the one that you want to happen, and then who you
Ooh.
think is going to win the Conn Smythe trophy. So that doesn't have to be from that matchup that you want to happen because this is who you think is going to win the Conn Smythe. You understand? So like who you want in the Stanley Cup, and then who you think is going to win the Conn Smythe.
Ooh, that's tough. You know, I'm gonna go bold here. I would like in the West here for fun. I'd like the Utah Mammoths to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, going against the Hurricanes. I think this would be a fun matchup to watch. Two teams
Yeah,
that usually wouldn't make it. Love the color schemes for it. I mean, I think this would be wonderful. The Canes finally get back after umpteen years. Utah makes it for the first time. Let's go all at it. I think it'd be a fun matchup. I think it would get two areas that hockey isn't really too popular to start getting that growth. I think that'd be fun. Is it going to happen? Probably not. I'll be honest. But when the Conn Smythe, I do think it's going to be Nathan McKinnon. I think he's going to win the Conn Smythe this year. I don't think it's a question.
yeah. That's an interesting Stanley Cup matchup. I'm thinking about that. I agree with you on the Conn Smythe. Like if we truly think that the Avalanche are going to win the Stanley Cup, then that answer kind of has to be McKinnon because I mean it could be Makar. I don't think it's anybody else out of that group. Like maybe it's Nietzsche's. Um, but yeah, maybe if Dallas wins, it could be Rantanen or
Yeah.
Robertson. But um, like if you're picking a Western, or if obviously if Edmonton wins, they're going to hand it. They're going to literally spoon feed it to McDavid. But
Yeah.
um, yeah. Anyway, I I was getting distracted there.
So who are your
Yeah,
the
my
two teams you would like to
okay.
see?
Well, the East, it's pretty obvious. Womp womp. Bruins in the Stanley Cup would be awesome. And then if who would I want them to play in the West? I mean, that depends on what you're asking me. What's on the menu? Do I want uniform matchup? Do I want hatred of the city? Do I want ease of possibly winning? Do I want
What's Let's
the
go with the crazy. The would bring the or what would be the craziest matchup? What would bring the most intense matchup you would?
Oh, it's easily, in my opinion, it's easily Edmonton. And the reason why is you have McDavid factor. You have McDavid growing up a Leafs fan, like playing
No.
in the Northeast, right? Coming to Boston, you've got that, which is different than when he had to play Florida, right? You're going to Florida, right? Like Canadians don't think about the Florida Panthers, or at least they didn't prior to a couple of years ago. Um, so there's that whole thing. There's like the original Six
Yeah.
Bruins part of it. Then there's also like the Oilers, and I think in like 1992 beat us in the Stanley Cup final. So
Yeah.
there's like that whole thing. So there's a lot there. And then maybe it was in the 80s. I forget. Wayne was definitely playing for them at the time. So
Yeah.
I forget what year that was because I wasn't alive. Um, so it's easily Edmonton. If we're talking about like what do I want from like an entertainment value, plus I have the whole Calgary Edmonton family thing going on,
Yeah.
which would be interesting and fun. But like if you're asking me like from a hockey standpoint, like for America,
Yeah.
I mean Boston and Minnesota in the Stanley Cup would be really fun, like to watch,
Agreed.
because of like that whole thing, like the Massachusetts Minnesota hockey rivalry that kind of happens. Um, that would be cool. So that's sort of where I'm leaning there. Um, And like, plus I've both seen those are the only two NHL arenas I've actually watched a game at. Um, but as far as like the Conn Smythe and who I like think is going to win the Conn Smythe, like again, I picked Dallas and Tampa at the beginning of the year, and I picked Dallas to win the Stanley Cup at the beginning of the year, and I don't like to get too cute, so I'm gonna go Stars, and because of that, I'll go with Robertson winning the Conn Smythe. Maybe he pots 15 goals or something over the
Okay.
course of the playoffs. And if they're playing all these long series, like I think, and that's his revenge for not being on the Olympic team.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll give you the last word. Are you calling Avs winning the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I'm calling Avs are winning the
And
Stanley Cup.
and who are they beating?
That's tough.
Well, we talked about it for an hour.
I know. I know. I'm stuck between two teams. I'm gonna go Tampa. They're gonna beat Tampa in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I think if Tampa can get Hedman back and win, here I am talking again. Sorry. If they can, I'm just buying into it because I picked them to win the East, right? Like if they can like get healthy enough and Vasilevsky returns to form, yeah, they're a very capable team. And
Yeah.
Carolina also scares me, but we'll see. We'll see. It all starts tomorrow. We finally got the schedule, Kyle. I mean, they took until like last night to tell everybody what the schedule was, which is
Yeah.
insane. Um, so we'll find out. It was going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be back after round one. We'll give you a quick recap of round one, and we'll look forward to round two. Hopefully, the Bruins are still a part of the conversation. Um, but Diesel, thanks for jumping on a Friday. Hope all of you guys have a great rest of your week. And if you want to get some odd man rush gear for the playoffs, you can do that. The link to do so is in the description on YouTube and on your podcast provider. But until then, have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy the NHL playoffs.
So